Hello everybody. Now, tips and clips is a new feature I'm going to be instituting, and as I feel I've got enough for a video, I will put one out. What I say by enough, quite often when you make a video, there are bits that you can't fit in for whatever reason, or there are bits that don't make a long enough video to enable you to make a video about that. You know, it might only be 30 seconds long or something like that. So quite often a lot of things are missed, and things that I want to put out there and tell you about basically. So I thought, well, I'm going to film these bits anyway, and I'm going to make them into little compilations, little videos, so you've got these little useful bits of things and information, tips and little clips here, there and everywhere, just to put them all into one place and to make things a bit tidier and hopefully interesting for you guys too. Now, just underneath this video there's a row of icons. There's a thumbs up and a thumbs down if you wanted to press those, and if you scroll this over you'll see other things like thanks and clip, and it's like a little pair of scissors there, and if you click on that there is a bar that will come up with blue ends either end, and you can move that across to select a clip in my video, and then you can move the ends in to get the size of that bit right, add a description name to it, and then click share, and you can share it to your social media. You can post it on Twitter, or you can just copy the link and send it to a friend in an email, and this all helps promote the site or the channel as such. So that helps me. So with that being there, if you want to, you can help me to grow, and that will help me to achieve my aims. So if you've got a couple of minutes, have a look at that. There's no onus on you to do it. I'm not saying you must do it, definitely not. But if you want to, if there's something in one of my videos that you think could be beneficial to someone, you can take a clip and you can send it to them in the way that suits you. Now, I am stunned and astounded with how fast my channel Green Side Up has grown. I'm incredibly thankful for it. I never really thought I would get to these levels, and I'm at just over 17,000 now. And what I want to be able to do is to grow this site a little bit further on. Now, if I can get to sort of around 20,000 subscribers, there is something that I, as a channel, could take advantage of, which down the road will help improve my YouTube channel here, and it will make the overall viewing experience of this channel 100% better. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I don't like doing that, because then it's sort of almost promising you it. I can't promise that. All I can do is aim for it and work for it. So I am kind of putting out a plea, which is why I've just given you the information about taking the clips and trying to promote Green Side Up if you can. Because if I can get to that number of subscribers, I can then start working on it. And I know it's going to take a good year for that to prove fruitious for Green Side Up. But that's where I'm aiming, and that's what I'm trying to do. I want to make the viewing experience here better, and I want the overall channel to improve as much as possible. So, as I say, you're under no onus. I mean, if you just watch this video and forget all about it, that's fine. But I am trying to actively improve things as much as I possibly can, and it's constantly in my thoughts. This is one way which I think eventually it will heavily improve things. So if you could, that'd be smashing. If you can't, then thank you very much anyway. Now, one of the things I get a lot of comments about is my palm sowing, where I'm doing this up and down the row, and very quickly I can sow a row of vegetable seeds. So I thought I'd go over that. I know a few people would like to know how I do it, and I know a few people who have tried it and they struggle with it. So basically what it is, you start with your hand flat, and you've got a natural bowl in here. If you draw your hand up, you create even more of a hollow, and that's what you throw your seed into. So I've got a nice big handful of seed, probably 200. These are all carrot seeds, so they're not wasted. And as you pull and draw your fingers up, you create a dam here with this fold of skin. It's open and flat here, and when you close it up you've got a dam. And then if you twist this hand until you see them just starting to fall, you're now ready to start sowing. And if you wiggle your fingers, the seeds start to fall out. It's the action of the vibration of your fingers that sends the seed out, and you can very quickly move across. I mean, this is carrot seeds, there's far too many there, but that's the principle, is that you're using that dam, you're opening and closing the gates to allow those seeds to fall out, and then just put your hand right back up and you stop the seeds falling. And it's literally that simple. It does take some time, but once you're used to it, it's an incredibly proficient method of sowing seeds that I highly recommend, because all you need is a packet of seeds and you've got it. You grew that yourself. It's like my homegrown dibber that I use for testing for watering and making holes in soil and things like that. So there we go, that's palm sowing. Now, I know many of you have seen this before, and I've done it just recently, but I felt I wanted to put it on this tips video, and it's about tying in tomatoes. Now, standard practice is to loop a bit of string around the cane, and then you twist it to make a shock absorber to make your plant stand off away from the cane like that. And that works well, nothing wrong with that at all. But my dad improved that for me and showed me how he did it, which is slightly different. You wrap the string around the cane and then go around it again. Then you make your little shock absorber, wrap it around the plant and then tie it. Leave this loop big enough for this plant to grow. Now this, surprisingly enough, is good enough to hold your tomato plants to a cane or a support. That double loop around there stops, with the weight of that plant is on it, it'll stop that falling down and making your plant flop over. So that'll stay there. There's plenty of room for the plant to grow, and it's held up and supported. Now, I've also been asked, would I do something about a little clip about pruning your grapevines, and this is something that will be ongoing through the season to show you how I tackle it, sort of on a weekly basis almost. But here, right now, from here all the way to over here, you can see there are tons of bunches of grapes. There are far too many, and it's just going to cause a problem later on, which I'll explain to you as the weeks go by. But if you look at these two tiny little bunches here, these are never going to do anything. And if they do, they're taking it away from these bigger ones that I want later to ripen. So these two will come out, and it will help to thin down this area, less chance of botrytis to set in. Let's do some pruning on a different area. Right, so I'm going to tackle this little area here, and the first thing that springs to my view is this thing. This is doing no good. There is no fruit on it. It's just in the way, or not doing any good at all. This little bit here has got this reasonable bunch on here that you can maybe see, and this tiny little thing. So I'm going to prune that away. I'm going to leave a couple of leaves behind and leave that grape bunch isolated on its own. Now here also we've got this great big massive bunch. This is where it gets hard, because I'm going to take this one out, because with all those grapes there and with the thickness of that bunch, it's not going to do much for those. And again, you've got to be cruel to be kind to yourself, because if we try to set in, you'll just lose all the grapes, and you want to get something for your reward. So I'm also going to thin out this one here. So I've pulled about 4 bunches of grapes there to leave one and a couple of leaves there on its own. That is better for the whole plant and better for that bunch of grapes. And then later on, as those grapes grow, the really tiny ones, like on the end here, you can see there's really tiny grapes. I will be pruning those out of the bunch so that the bigger ones can grow and swell to their maximum size and produce a good bunch of grapes. Also taking off these little ones, again, just to leave one whole bunch there on its own with not too much foliage around it, and over a period of weeks I'll go through this whole vine and continually thin this. I'll be continually working on this all the way up until I get a harvest from it. So there we go, that's a little bit on pruning. So very quickly, this is the bed that I sowed last week, and I used the palm sowing in this bed and very quickly got this all sown up. And I've got Swedes, turnips, some beetroot. You can see the beetroot are just starting to come through. There's one row there and another one there. They're just starting to come through. And then I've got some radish down here, and somewhere in this mess, here we go, I think, yep, here we go, this is the fennel just starting to come through here as well. So this will come through. And then the great thing about the sowing in the rows is I can run my rake up this area and get rid of these weeds nice and easy. A bit later on I'll sit down and prick out the ones, I mean that might be a weed, I could take that out because it's quite close to my radish. But it just makes the whole job easier if everything is sown in rows and I can hoe in between them. So down on the back of the plot, so this is my new sweet pea frame, which I'm over the moon with, it's brilliant. And I've got all my sweet peas tied in, they're growing away nicely. Got a few more blooms. I picked a whole bucket full yesterday, I think it was. Took them home, and I'll flash a little picture up of them in a vase. And today, I'm going to pick some of this lot. This is my Sweet Williams. And I also need to prune back some of these dead roses as well to promote new growth. But that's for another clip, another day. But let's get on and get some of these in a bucket. And this is the beauty really of planting flowers, is that you can just come along, and I'll fill this bucket today, and it'll be a couple of vases at home. And it makes a world of difference to your mental well-being. I did recall reading some study somewhere that even people who grew just vegetables on their allotments, there was a noticeable difference when they were walking in past a big flower bed on their allotments to get to their own veg-only plots. And it's a little known thing that it does you good, even if you say you don't like flowers and you're not interested in them. So for your mental well-being and for mine and for my hands at home, I grow the flowers. But I've always kind of had an affinity with them because of my granddad. My granddad used to do flowers for the Lord Mayor's table in Liverpool just before he retired. That was his last sort of situation as head gardener of Liverpool. So yeah, I've always had this affinity with flowers. I am by no means am I a flower arranger. They get chucked in a vase, and if Anne wants to, she can zhuzh them up later. But otherwise, this is as far as it goes for me. I'll put them in water in a vase, as I say, and that's it, job done. There we go, how quick was that? No idea of the value of them in a shop, but I'm sure it's not cheap. And it was just a packet of seeds. This whole lot was one packet of seeds. So there we go, I'll fill that bucket, job done. So there we go, one cracking bucket of flowers that's going to make one ginormous vase of flowers at home. That'll be stunning. Now, it's tidy in the tunnel, but just outside it isn't. There's all this weed, the majority of it is nettles, and I'm going to take advantage of these nettles now. And if I just quickly spin you around, there's more nettles right the way up the side there, and more weeds. The weeds, they're all going to go on the compost heap. The nettles I'm going to make a nettle feed from. Now this in here is Bocking 14 comfrey. I cut it from a patch I've got in my garden at home, which is a different story. Wrapped it up in this tarpaulin and fetched it down, and it's been sat here for about 10 days, I would say, a week, 10 days. And I'm going to also put that into one of these two buckets up here, and make a comfrey feed, as well as a nettle one that I just mentioned. So these are 205 litre barrels, and you can get these any places that they use chemicals. I mean, places like we get a lot of ours from farmers. They use iodine as part of their husbandry of animals, but you can get them in food places. They might come full of treacle or some sort of syrup or oil or something. So just get them, give them a good wash out, make sure they're clean, and do it responsibly, of course. And there you go, you've got a water butt. They're half full of water, and all I'm going to do with this comfrey, if I can stop myself falling over, is literally just dump it in. Now you can cut it up if you want to. I do sometimes, if I've got time. But it'd be a messy job now. This has been left standing for 10 days. If I cut it fresh from the patch over there, I'll put it in a wheelbarrow and I'll hack at it with a pair of shears. But there we go, that's it, comfrey feed. I'll give it a stir twice a week, and in 4 weeks I'll be feeding my plants for this. You get a lovely sort of dark brown colour, and I will add some more comfrey from that patch to this barrel as we go on, and then just keep it covered in water, and that's all you need to do with that. It's the same with the nettles. I'll cut them down, I've got my gloves on, cut them down and pop them in that barrel. Free feed, doesn't cost you anything just to get the barrels. So my tomato side shoots and suckers that I took off these Crimson Crush plants, I think last week, it was about a week ago, put them in the ground. You can see now they're growing away. These will all be planted in the small tunnel when I've cleared that out next week, and these will be cracking little plants. I've still got a few down here as well, but I've got about 20 odd plants to go in there, and I will get a crop off them this year, so very pleased about that. But I hope you've enjoyed this format today. Please do let me know in the comments. If you don't like it and you're reticent about posting about it in the comments, then my email address is below every single video that I ever produce. Drop me an email and we'll see what we can do about it and find out why you don't like it. You know, I'm just putting some feelers out there to see what you think about this new format and whether it's viable for me to go forward with it. If it is, then I can record loads and loads of extra stuff that normally wouldn't appear in videos, and I think those sorts of things, although they'll be a bit haphazard when they're in we can get on top of this stuff and get it done, and you can all see it and hopefully enjoy it. But anyway, that's it for today. Please look after yourselves and stay safe again. I can see coronavirus again is on the rise. The figures are on the rise, so please stay safe out there, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Ta-ra now. Come on, ripen.